Did you see Dave Ramsey interviewed Donald Trump last week? They're going to be dropping that midweek. And by the way, Ramsey personality Ken Coleman is going to be here just after 8 o'clock. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Chiefs, of course, win yesterday. Royals are getting set for the postseason tomorrow in Baltimore, but none of those make this week's.
It's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly on KCMO Talk Radio. Now on 95.7 FM.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with the good from the weekend. The sports story that did not get nearly enough attention, but a lot of credit to Boise State women's volleyball. Boise State announced over the weekend that they are forfeiting their game against San Jose State. And why is that? Well, because San Jose State has a guy on the team. San Jose State is, by the way, having a great season. I know that's not going to surprise you, but a large part of that is because of Blair Fleming, a redshirt junior at San Jose State University, who plays as an outside and right side hitter on the women's volleyball team. Fleming is a biological male. And Boise State said, yeah, we're not doing it. We're not playing with this. We're not doing this charade of getting our butts kicked and acting like this is a fair way to play women's sports. So Boise State put out a statement saying they're not playing in their scheduled match at San Jose State on Saturday, September 28th. Per Mountain West Conference policy, the conference will record the match as a forfeit and a loss for Boise State. The Broncos will next compete on October 3rd against Air Force. And good for them. Having a backbone, standing up to the ridiculousness of playing a game against a guy and acting like this is just normal and this is just A-OK and this is rah-rah, women's athletics. It's everything that Title IX theoretically was supposed to be against. And instead, for too many, due to cowardice and fear, they're not standing up for women. Boise State stood up for its young women. And if more colleges and all sports, when they had to deal with these situations, did exactly that, we might actually get change on these issues. Instead, for too many, they're afraid. They don't want to stand up for, first off, their women athletes, and two, what is just inherently right. But Boise State women's volleyball was willing to do that over the weekend, and they came out and they said, yep, give us a loss, we're forfeiting, whatever you want to do is fine, but we are not going to go along with this charade. And good on them on that. So that's the good from the weekend here on KCMO. The bad, this is Hollywood in a nutshell. Actress Julia Louis-Dreyfus, of course, of Seinfeld fame, Veep, the whole thing, she came out on MSNBC on Friday night and perfectly encapsulated the Hollywood attitude on politics and summarized this thing incredibly well by basically admitting, I have no idea about policy. I just vote for what makes me feel good.
I'm not a politician. I'm not an expert on various issues that we're up against today. But I do feel strongly about who our leaders should be as an American citizen. And I would really like it if the discourse could become kinder and more effective. And I think that will be the case with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in office. And because I think they are people who are for the people.
Isn't that the Hollywood lib political worldview explained perfectly in 30 seconds? I don't know anything about the issues, but I have really strong opinions on who should be president because feels and kindness and other stuff that I struggle to articulate. I mean, that's the approach that she's taking. Then there's the Bob De Niro approach, which is stand on the street corner like an angry old man and yell at the clouds about Trump. That's the De Niro approach, but it's really the same thing. It's one side of the same coin. We should always trust the political instincts of actors. They are the wisest and the best among us. Just like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller, and Carrot Top. They all have just such keen political insights and instincts, and they so connect with the working man and woman in this country right now that we must trust them because they are thinking with their feelings. instead of doing the actual critical thinking part, which is what most people try to do when selecting the next leader of the free world. But that doesn't work for them, you know? It really just goes to show you that the capacity to remember lines in a script has nothing to do with the capacity to engage in a critical analysis of the country and the world. And that's what we're living through right now. And when I heard that, I was like, boy, first off, we are living through a real-life episode of Veep right now with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. And two, man, for all the great Seinfeld episodes that are out there that make me laugh, it's just a reminder that I don't trust these people when it comes to leaders of this country and leaders of the free world. Oh, my goodness. Now the ugly from the weekend. And this sure was ugly. Well, this part was good, but I'm going to get to the ugly part of this story. Israel struck Lebanon again over the weekend, and they killed one of Hezbollah's leaders. A bombing on Friday assassinated Hassan Nasrallah. And he's one of the leaders of Hezbollah. Bad dude. We know what Hezbollah is doing. They've been a threat to Israel for a long time. That threat has become more immediate. That's not the ugly. The ugly is how the Associated Press covered the killing of this Hezbollah leader. Here's the headline from the Associated Press. Quote, charismatic and shrewd, a look at longtime Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. Nothing like complimenting one of the world's worst terrorists after he gets killed by Israel. Now, let's look at how the Associated Press wrote about Jim Inhofe's death back in July. Jim Inhofe was a longtime Republican U.S. senator. They write about Jim Inhofe. Headline, Associated Press, July 9th, 2024. Former U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe, defense hawk who called human-caused climate change a hoax, dies at 89. Do you notice the difference between how the Associated Press covers the death of a Republican versus, at the time, the possible death of a terror leader responsible for tens of thousands of other deaths? Isn't that quite a contrast when you look at those two headlines? Republican, climate change hoax, climate change denier. Leader of Hezbollah, charismatic and shrewd.
Such a nice man.
Ah, yes, the charismatic and shrewd leaders of Hezbollah. May they rest in peace, said nobody ever with common sense. But that's your media today. There is the good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend.